Now, I got an email recently from Nick in Westen, Brazil of Wyoming. Nick told me he had a pesky fox he was trying to get rid of, and since he and his son are just now getting into tying, they tried tying some flies with this fox pelt. And I love seeing this, a father teaching his son how to fly fish, and just look at this view. Wow, I wish we had streams and mountains like this in Maryland. That is an absolutely beautiful looking place. So I asked Nick if they'd caught any fish with this pattern they came up with, and he sent me this picture. And again, wow, Weston, this is an amazing fish. That is a nice fish in any water. Now the pattern they came up with, it's not revolutionary. It's just a three-way dry fly with a tail, body, and hackle. But it is just a little bit unique. The tail is made from the guard hairs of the red fox, and the body is the gray underfur, but it's also got a red rib, which is what I think makes this an attractive fly. Now, Nick and Weston used a wire for the rib, which did look good. It gave it just a little bit of flash, but I decided to go with a red thread for the rib to keep the overall weight down. But Weston, welcome to the sport, my friend. You are off to a great start with this pattern. I hope y'all like it. So there it is, Nick and Weston's Wyoming Red Fox. So 2 components from a red fox and the brown hackle. But you got that red rib up in there too. Now I'm tying this on a size 12, standard length barbless dry fly hook. Now it is a wide gap, and I'm going with a wide gap just because I don't tie on them very often, and it looks kind of cool. Now I'm using red thread. This is a 70 denier. I'll lay a base down to where I'm going to tie in the tail. But before I tie in the tail, I'm going to make a little dubbing loop and create my rib. Now, I think Nick and Weston used wire for this, but I didn't have a real fine red wire, and I think thread is just going to keep it a little bit lighter weight. So I've got my, effectively a dubbing loop. I'm just going to spin it together right here and then park it off to the side with my magnet. Now I'm going to catch in the tail, just a few guard hairs from the red fox's back. Maybe a dozen or so, pretty sparse, but kind of long. So let's go at least a body length right here. Maybe spin this thread clockwise, cord it up just a little bit. Put a couple of binding wraps. Do we need to go a little farther back? Yeah, I think we need to go a little bit farther back right here. Okay, that's going to be fine. Now I'm kind of getting that rib messed up a little bit, but go ahead and bury this in up here to where we're going to, end our body. But let's park our thread in the back, grab some wax. Now, if you've never worked with underfur from Red Fox, it's a pretty dark gray. So any dark dun dubbing I think would work well right here. A muskrat, a rabbit, even a raccoon. But we're going to stick with what Nick and Weston did and use this Red Fox. So put a 3-inch noodle or so and then wrap it up to, the back 2/3 of the hook. Okay, I think that's going to be fine. Now I'm going to counter wrap this thread rib and space it however, you'd like, but the closer together you make them, the more red you're going to see, and I think the red is a pretty cool part of this fly. So a couple wraps to secure that. We'll snip this excess. Now grab some brown dry fly hackle. And I'm going to try to size this to match the hook. Maybe 1.5 a hook gap, but since it is a wide hook gap, we can get away with a little bit shorter. Let's go to about right there. Now I want to start this hackle far enough back that I can get a good 4 wraps or so. So I'm going to take it back, put my thread a little bit over the front of that body, and that's fine if you end up having to do that. But let's catch this in right back here. I'm going to put a wrap behind it just to try and prop this up a little bit more. And now I can bend this stem forward as I wrap up. And now just wrap it up. I think 4 or 5 wraps is going to give you enough to really float this thing. Now before I snip that off, I'm going to just push everything back a little bit, create a little flat spot, make some room for my wet finish here. Okay, now let's snip this excess and see if we have any cleanup here. I got a few fibers going back I could trim if I really wanted to make this a pretty fly. But as is, I think this is a fishable fly and I think it's going to float pretty well. I'm going to put a drop of head cement on it, put this thing in my dry fly box. So that's it, my friends. I appreciate you watching Nick and Westen's Wyoming Red Fox. Y'all take care and we'll see you next time.